Star Wars: The Heart of the Jedi by Kenneth C. Flint. Chapter 23. The devastated Imperial patrol ship drifted dead in space. By outward appearances, the ghostly wreck might have been flotsam on the star tides for an eternity. The internal flares of shorted electrical systems had faded with the final exhaustion of power. This had extinguished all remaining ship's lights too, leaving it only a dark mass of useless metal. Not far off its beam drifted another ship, the Millennium Falcon. The powerful beams of her front searchlights played across the hull, pausing as they lit each of the ragged puncture wounds. In the cockpit, Leia and Han peered out at the grisly scene through the front windows. "What happened to it?" asked Leia. "I don't know," said Han. "Something pretty powerful, and must have been some strange armament to blast holes through like that." "Could it have been Luke?" He shrugged. "We don't know about any other Alliance forces in the area. He only had a sporter, though. Nothing that could do this. I can't believe he would have got jumped anyway. Any decent pilot could zip right through the patrol zone easy. I've heard the Imperial screen here is pretty light." "I suppose," she said slowly. She looked hard towards the ship. "Still, I have a strong feeling that somehow it was him." "The feeling again?" Han said skeptically. "Kinda hard to get that in space, isn't it?" "No, actually, it seems to be getting easier. My senses seem to be getting more heightened, as if something was making them grow stronger." "If you say so," he said. "Can't say that I'll ever understand how this force thing works with you two. Anyway, it means we're on the right track. I guess that's better than nothing." Leia looked to him. "Oh, Han," she said with concern. "You think we'll find him in time?" "I don't know, Leia," he told her frankly. "We don't have any idea what's involved, who all's after him, or how far ahead he is. We just gotta take this a step at a time." "It's only that I've never felt so lost," she admitted in frustrated tones. "So much is wrong. Luke and R2 are gone. 3PO has been so damaged. You and I..." She broke off, leaving the last point unfinished. He put a hand on her arm. "Hey, don't even think about that," he told her earnestly. "It's way behind us. We're working together now, aren't we? Just like always. We beat this thing. Just like always." She looked at his hand, her eyes lifted from it to his face. He smiled and crooked a little smile of encouragement. Then their gazes locked with a greater intensity. They leaned toward one another, drawn together by a mutual impulse, their lips moving into touch. A self-conscious "Humph" sounded, and they pulled quickly apart, both looking a bit flustered. Senator Valadian, standing in the cockpit door, looked a little abashed, too, at disturbing them. I'm very sorry," he said. "I just wondered what was going on." "Oh, nothing at all, Senator," said, not fully hiding chagrin. "I was just going to set our next travel coordinates." He turned to his controls while Leia turned to Valadian. "This next leg will take us through an Imperial zone and then into the unknown regions, Oh, it's Leia. "This next leg will take us through an Imperial zone and then into the unknown regions, Senator," she told him. "You probably want us to put you off at one of your outposts before we leave your territory. You don't need to continue this chase with us." "Oh, but I do," he replied. "Tharkus has badly damaged our peace effort. He has left me alone of those most favoring it. Still, I might yet discredit him and salvage things. If he does not tamper with some factor of the Force, were he to demonstrate that it was no longer in aid of the Alliance, he could regenerate the whole war effort. Before anything else can be done, I must see his plan stopped. For now, I intend to keep helping you. But if he did somehow tamper with the Force..." Oh, switching it. "But if he did somehow tamper with the Force," said Leia, "the Empire might win. Your Empire." "Not mine," he said. "It's clear that in the new regime, Tharkus plans not even the vestiges of the Republic would be left. My life is forfeit now. You heard him. I am a traitor in his eyes. Should he succeed, I and every other senator left will be hunted down. I have no doubt of it. I know the man too well. He is a military fanatic and totally ruthless. I agree with you there, commented Han, making the last instrument settings. After the way he blasted your friends, I'd say he's probably home trying to take things over right now. The lone Star Destroyer rumbled ahead through space, passing the blinking frontier beacon. Within its starkly appointed captain's cabin, Tharkus and his General Cantos played out an ancient strategy game on an antique checkered board. Wait a second. Is it chess or is it checkers? It's probably neither. The High Admiral's hand moved on one of his slender chrome pieces out across the black and white playing surface to tap an ebony one of his opponent. The general's piece toppled over. Ah, you're in great jeopardy now, I think, Darkus said with satisfaction. Across the table, a disgruntled Kantos picked up his fallen piece. He set it with a dozen others lined up on one side of the board. His remaining black players were becoming sparse indeed. The game is not over, he said stubbornly. I have some moves to make. In demonstration, he lifted a sinuously fluted piece and moved it ahead. Perhaps, Darkus acceded, lifting one of his chrome men. But it's only a matter of time. He set it down again. Check, I believe. Likely mate, too. I'm afraid my trap is closed. Kantos growled and looked intently on the other man's strategic arrangement for some way out. His consideration was interrupted as Captain Vascord entered the cabin. The officer stood up to the table, clicked his heels, and saluted his superiors smartly. Tharkus nodded in acknowledgement. High Admiral, we have just entered the unknown regions, the captain announced. Very good, told him. What new word have you received about events at home? We have been monitoring all transmissions from the Empire, Vascor crisply reported. Apparently the story is spreading that the so-called peace meeting was in fact a rebel trap, and that our senators were brutally massacred by them. Really? Said Tharkus. And what was the reaction from our people? There is great outrage, and there are calls from many that the truce be ended. But some voices still argue that this would be a grave mistake. They say that the rebels simply want to goad us into more war, so they have an excuse to defeat us utterly. The threat of the Jedi still holds them in thrall to fear. A very clever and concise summary, Captain Tharkus complimented. You may resume your duties now, but continue the monitoring and keep me informed of any new events. Yes, High Admiral. The officer saluted again, and marched out of the room. Well, things are going as I intended, Tharkus gloated to his general. My agents have spread the rumor effectively. The so-called New Republic will be blamed for this monstrous deed. Hatred and mistrust of them will grow. The need to strike back will be firmly planted. The people may still not follow you back into the war, Kantos pointed out, not if they believe it will mean destruction. But once we have succeeded with the rest of my plan, there will be no stopping them. They will roll across the rebel forces in a tidal wave. We must only remove this absurd fear of the Jedi and their force. Or perhaps to co-opt its power to our side, Kantos put in. Still considering such a possibility, General? Tharkus asked thoughtfully. As are you, I think, the other shrewdly replied. It seems your interest in the possibilities, shall we say, is growing keener. I have heard it in your words and tone of voice. Perhaps, Darkus conceded. I do admit that the idea has been more active in my mind, and it grows stronger as we proceed. Why not believe I might control this force? The Emperor did so, that much we have established. He was no Jedi, just an ordinary man. Well, that's what you get for writing books before the prequels came out. I mean, he wasn't a Jedi, but he was a Sith. Or one who began as such. My own will is at least as strong as his, and my desire for the common good is much stronger. Why, for the Empire's sake alone, it should be my duty to try and make the power work for us. Not for yourself, Kantos put in, not to secure greater power. Greater power, yes, of course, but not for me. For the Empire. To ensure it is transcendent in the universe, eternal. For such a goal, Kantos, trying to subdue and bend the Force to my will may well be worth risking. Yet, how do you envision that such a thing can be accomplished? The general wondered. For that, we must wait until we see just what the nature of this heart of the Jedi is, Darkus told him. But if things go as I have ordered them, then we will be able to examine the situation and determine a method at our leisure. He smiled. No one must interfere with us this time. The golden metal arm of C-3PO spasmed with a shrill whining of its mechanical muscles. The limb relaxed, then stirred slightly in a more natural movement. One of its hand's articulated fingers quivered, then curled. The entire hand flexed, drew into a tight fist, then opened again. Finally, the whole arm lifted, bent, and straightened out again, before dropping back down. Han, Leia, and Valadian sat close about the droid in the Falcon's main cabin, watching in fascination as Chewie tinkered with the metal man's complex mechanisms. The Wookiee was at the moment systematically working the droid's robotic muscles by triggering key diodes in the metal being's open chest. Not bad, Chewie, Han said critically. Chewie gave a low growl in response and made some more adjustments. Has he managed to fix 3PO? Leia asked hopefully. The Wookiee paused to bark and snarl out what was for him a long answer. He says sorry, translated. He's just regaining control of motor functions and base-level intelligence. He's leaving the higher levels strictly out. Can't trust him. At least we can use him as a source of information. Like a walking encyclopedia, said Leia. Afraid so. Chewie made some more adjustments and flipped an internal switch. Lights of the droid's round glass eyes came on. Chewie nodded in satisfaction and snapped the chest access panel closed. I guess he's all ready, Han announced. We should try him. Let me, said Leia. She sat forward. 3PO, she said gently. Can you hear me? There were some unintelligible noises from the droid's mouth. Then words came clearly. I hear, Master. What is it you wish? Oh no. The next line says the voice was 3PO's. I hear, Master. What is it you wish? The voice was 3PO's, but the tones were an emotionless drone. Leia tried again. It's me, 3PO. It's Leia. Do you remember me? I am C-3PO, it mechanically cranked out. Human-cyborg relations. I am proficient in over 6 million forms of communication. My task is to serve. What is your wish, Master? Nothing, Han told him. Forget it. Just take a rest. Rest is not required, it pointed out. As a mechanical being, I have no need for recreation, sustenance, sexual fulfillment, or positive verbal reinforcement as human beings do. I am not prone to euphoria, melancholy, love, hate, wistfulness, avarice, gluttony, sloth. Enough, Han said, shaking his head. Shut him down. Shutting down, sir, the droid said, and fell instantly silent. Poor 3PO, Leia said sadly. There's no personality left. He's lost his soul. Never had one, Han pointed out to her. He's a droid. That's what you say, she responded thoughtfully. I think he had a more living, feeling heart than a lot of humans I've known. And more courage and loyalty, too. Maybe he was just a droid. It was also our friend. They destroyed that part of him. Sorry. Yeah, Han said, regret now filling his own voice. I guess I am, too. I'm kind of sorry for the rough way I treated him in the past. Maybe I deserved his trying to strangle me. Patted the shoulder of the golden being in an affectionate way. I'll get even for you, pal, he said with grim sincerity. I promise you. Get even? That came from Goen, who had sat lounging in a disinterested manner through all this. Now he sat up, his face registering alarm. Does that imply that you're contemplating some possibility of our being involved in a violent encounter with the Empire? I'd sure say it's a possibility, Han told him. I mean, we're pretty sure someone's after Luke. Could be just one. But it could be a dozen of them, too. We don't know. So what's the problem, Prince? You afraid of getting your good clothes, little muss? Hell, I'll be glad to lend you some old ones of mine, except you don't like their style. What I'm afraid of is getting hurt, Goen retorted. I am not a warrior. I've made that very clear. All right, Han said sarcastically. You're only trained as a diplomat. Manners and protocol. Correct, Goen said haughtily. My life must be protected for the good of the Alliance. My diplomatic skills... Han interrupted. Hey, your skills won't amount to a hill of cactus beans. Cactus beans? That's weird. Practice beans, this war takes off again. Darkus succeeds, and the Alliance will be fighting for its life all over again. Palladian knows that, don't you? Perhaps I do, Johan hedged. I just don't see what possible good I can do you. Fact is, we're in a hurry, Han explained. There's no time to put you down someplace, and nowhere to drop you at even if we wanted. Unless you want to be dumped on some Imperial world. Well, no, but, besides, Han, you may just need every hand-on blaster we can get. That includes your lily white ones, Prince Boy. But I know, you can't shoot. Leia, want to give the ambassador here some lessons in laser fire diplomacy? I'd be most happy to, she said, clearly without sympathy for the moping young man. Perhaps you might show me as well, Palladian ventured. You, Senator? Han said in surprise. I didn't mean that you should. Palladian held up a staying hand. I know, Captain. I was a fair shot once, and I've been a soldier. This is my fight, too. I won't be left out of it. He smiled. And you did say, every hand. Han smiled in return. You're my kind of guy, Senator. Okay, Leia, make it weapons training for all. He looked at the Wookiee. Come on, Chewie, let's you and me get back up to the cockpit. I want to be on the job when we cross that frontier. He started away, but Leia called after him. Han, then what? Step by step, like I said, he replied. Just keep on and hope we find some kind of road sign. Or more feelings, she said. I know Luke's out there. Right now, he's somewhere ahead of us. Just remember I said, so's somebody else.